Let me tell you something. Some of these women are so obsessed with a man, they want to put witchcraft on him. They do a love spell. They want him obsessed with them, right? Once you put that love spell on that man, and now he obsessed with you, guess what? Your ass might end up unalive. I don't care what. You walk around here putting witchcraft on somebody to make them want me. Sometimes y'all be hearing about some of these women getting unalive. I hate to say it, somebody gonna get mad. Some of that be because they done put voodoo on that man. And now he is really obsessed with them. She tired on, she ready for a relationship to be over with now for whatever reason. And now he can't take it. Cause he gone crazy literally by her. Cause she did it. Man, let me tell you something. And you gotta love yourself first. If I got to put
Doing or paying someone to do any kind of love spell or binding ritual is witchcraft. Whether it's to get your partner to go crazy over you or to get your ex back, it is witchcraft. People think that witches are only found in the bushes with the broomsticks and the witch hat doing incantations. No, they look like everyday people. They look like me and you. When people do these rituals, they use demonic powers from the kingdom of darkness to manipulate or control another person's mind, will, and emotions. God gives us free will. The devil uses manipulation. Can love spells work on Christians? Yes, they can. If you're living in willful sin and you have many open doors to the enemy, then yes, they can work on you. That's why it's important to be totally surrendered to God and living a holy, repentative, and sanctified lifestyle.
Daily prophetic love spell. God says this: be careful. Only God can love you unconditionally. John 3:16 says this in my version NIV: for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life.
My grandmother told me never be desperate enough for love that you do a love spell on somebody, and this is why. We're gonna call this woman Yoli, and we're gonna call her boyfriend Mark. So Yoli was in love with Mark, okay? There's nothing that Yoli was not willing to do for this man. That was her man, that was her person. Like, she would go to bat for Mark. Like, she would take a bullet for Mark. However, it just wasn't reciprocated. Now, keep in mind, this story took place in Haiti. And if you know anything about Haitian men, like, I'm not gonna say too much, but like, they be having like 10 different families. So needless to say that Mark had these little things on the side, and Mark was definitely dragging Yoli through the mud. And if you know anything else about Haitian women, we love a good gossip. So all the other women from the neighborhood would just watch how Yoli and Mark move about and just go gossip about her behind her back. And Yoli, being aware of this fact, was just honestly dying from embarrassment. Not only is it embarrassing that everybody else has this image of her, but it's also embarrassing that she knows that she loves this man, and there's not a thing that she's not willing to do for him. So why isn't it reciprocated? It's a weird juxtaposition of siding with everybody else but wanting to stay with that person. One day Mark comes home and Mark tells Yoli that, yo, basically, like, I'm not gonna lie, you're great, but like, we're gonna have to part our ways. Needless to say, Yoli didn't take it very well because they were still living together, right? Until Yoli got the brilliant idea. So Yoli decides, I shot this part so many times. So she decides, she goes to the priest and she tells him that she wants a love spell done on Mark. And the voodoo priest is like, okay, but just so you know, this is what it would entail. This potion that he was about to give her, which included her blood, by the way, which was what did the binding, right? Keep that in mind. So this potion, once you feed it to Mark, would last for the next 6 months. After those 6 months, you don't even want to wait for those 6 months to be up, because you need to come back before those 6 months are up, get you another potion and feed it to Mark, because you do not want to reap the consequences of your own actions of putting a love spell on somebody. Mark became a new man, so much so that the entire neighborhood even starts to notice, and they even start to talk about it. Like, what is going on? Didn't Mark really not care for Yoli like that? Like, why are they all buddy-buddy now? Okay, we here for it though. For the first 6 months, it is as though Mark made a complete 180. Like, he was a completely new man. He was a family-oriented man. He even got Yoli pregnant and proposed to her in that time. Yoli, being a fan of this potion, said, well, I'm not waiting for my 6 months to come up. I'm going back now and I'm getting some more. So she went back and she got another potion before the 6 months was up and fed it again to Mark to, ensure longevity in this princess treatment that she was getting. So Mark has no idea that he's under a spell, that anything is being done to him. Like, he is living his life regularly. Keep in mind, when you go to a voodoo priest and they do these services for you, guys, this is not cheap, okay? So you actually have to come out of pocket and pay a ton of money to fuck up your life like this. Yoli had an amazing year, okay? She had an amazing year with Mark. She was now pregnant. She was ready to start her life with her man until finances hit. Meaning that Yoli can't afford to go to the voodoo priest again to get a new potion. So, her thinking, this is probably just a marketing scheme anyway that the voodoo priest told her, so she can keep coming back and keep spending her money, because it's been a whole year and her man was sweet. So she said, I ain't going back. I am not spending my money again. So, the year went on, the potion wore off, and child, Mark was back. When the spell wore off of Mark, now, trigger warning, DV. When that spell wore off, it is as though all of the love and all of the adoration that Mark had for Yoli over that year, all of it turned into hate, but tenfold. One day, Mark woke up and he hated Yoli. So it started off pretty slow. So, domestic violence. So now Mark is an extremely violent man. So Mark is whooping Yoli's every chance he gets. So now Yoli has found herself in an extremely abusive relationship that she wasn't even in before. And keep in mind, she's with child. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, she was dealing with all of it. Mark also became just an angry individual just in his regular life. He was very short-fused and very short-tempered with people in general. He seemed to have no sympathy for even the baby that Yoli seemed to be carrying for him. So Yoli decides to go back to the priest and get yet another dose and goes back home and feeds it to Mark. Except this time, she didn't get the princess treatment that she got the first time. She got Mark being extremely in love with her, but the abuse was still there. If not, it was worse. Yoli could not get away from this man. And it's damned if you do and damned if you don't, because in 6 months, when this new potion wears off, what will become of Mark? And if she doesn't do it, what will become of her? So it's kind of like, does she get another potion just to keep him sweet so she can stay alive? Or does she just lean him off? Like, what to do? Yoli goes to her family about it, and her family decides, we're going to help you get away, Yoli, because you need to get out of there now, because he will unalive you at some point. So the family drives over and gets Yoli, so it's like a secret rescue mission while he's not home. So the family gets her and they escape. Listen, I'm tired.
Welcome, where I expose the devil with the biblical scriptures. This is the second video that I made about love spell. I will put the previous video at the end of this video. I think you will like it. If you think you are falling a victim of this, or someone you know, listen to this. And feel free to comment down below your thoughts. Before we begin, let's listen to this. Philippians 4:13 in my version NIV says this: I can do all this through him who gives me strength. Sometimes immature Christians can cast out demons, but then do not live in faith and the obedience. Angry demons can come back, waiting for them to fall into sin. Then the demons they cast out can then enter.
I don't know what's going on, but today God really wanted me to deal with love spells to help you to understand not only how powerful they are, but how dangerous they are. Today, witchcraft is trending, and a lot of people are practicing it because they lack understanding. This is why God said, above all thy getting, get understanding. We all want something, and all too often we come in contact with people that we are attracted to, but they have this mechanism called will. After all, the soul is comprised of the mind, will, and emotions. But if that person doesn't want us in return, there's literally nothing that we can do legally. Think about it. God doesn't even control us. He gave us will and the freedom to express their will. So anytime you try to rob a person of their ability to make a sober decision, you are practicing the illegal act of witchcraft, and you are employing the use of demonic spirits. Demons and blessings don't go hand in hand. You can't use demons and expect to get a blessing in return. The way these spirits work is they will go to that person. Let's say you're a woman and you put a love spell on a man. This is just for example's sake. The way that those spirits work is they will inundate the man's mind with thoughts of you. They will even give him dreams about you. And then there's that false confirmation. For example, his mother may say, hey, I saw old girl at the supermarket yesterday. She was looking really good. Before long, you will have your man if he is not properly guarded. But here's where things get messy. A lot of people don't realize that witchcraft is very similar to drugs and alcohol. It literally brings people under the influence, but it's gonna wear off. Which is why when people practice it, they have to do another spell behind another spell. And before some witch comes in my comments and start arguing and saying, well, I did witchcraft on a man and a woman and they're still together to this day and they never had to do it again. The reason that they never had to do it again was because he got soul tied to her. And even though he may not want her, he's reasoning within himself that, hey, we got kids now. No sense in leaving. I don't know how desperate you got to be to want somebody that does not want you. But once you have your dude, he's going to start sobering up. Again, he may stick around if you have kids, but he's not going to necessarily want you. And yes, he may cheat on you with the woman that he actually does want. But a lot of times, if you keep practicing witchcraft, he will feel trapped. He may feel like there's no way out. Today, there are too many cases of people killing their lovers. And in some of those cases, many of those cases, I don't think we realize you're dealing with a person who put a spell on another person. Not to blame the victim here, but a lot of people don't understand how spiritual warfare works. Using a demon to bring another person under a spell can cause that person to feel trapped. And people do some desperate things when they feel trapped. I'm saying this to say love spells are dangerous. They're sweet in the beginning, but they're incredibly bitter in the end.
It takes years of study of the Old Testament to fully understand why Jesus Christ's blood and no other is sacrificed. Spiritual power necessary for anyone to have salvation, and as a representation of Jesus Christ's life, it is greatest gift God even gave men. Jesus' life would have been useful, but it could never have brought anyone salvation until he's been put to death, was accompanied by the shedding of his blood. It is the power of the blood of Jesus which disarm the demons. The demons are terrified of it. Someone who has not dedicated himself to a living for and with Jesus Christ shall not seek deliverance to cast out demons, or the breaking of the curses. Mark 9:28-29 in my version NIV says this: after Jesus has gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, why couldn't we drive it out? We're talking about demons. He replies, this kind can come out only by prayers. Jesus was saying to his disciples, so you need to do fasting and prayers to be more effective. However, demons who have found a home in someone's flesh resent being forced to leave.
Considering practicing black magic and wooing your love into your bedroom or into your love life, I highly suggest that you do not do this. The reason being that when we practice black magic, there can be latent consequences to our actions that are not for the best and are not going to give us the most beneficial result. So when you practice black magic and you do a spell, I'm not going to say what they are because I don't think you should do them. Be aware that you could potentially get that person to fall in love with you, but the kind of love that you receive after that might not be what you want. And if you're doing it for revenge, if you're trying to seduce someone because you're getting revenge on someone else, you might be hurting yourself in the process, because that person could become stalkerish. They could get so obsessed with you that they could potentially try to hurt you or your family or your pets. I mean, I'm saying this is like the worst case scenario, because they could just get really, birds having a throwdown over here. They could potentially go crazy like these birds on you and become really, really, really obsessive and psycho, or they could potentially, I mean, I would hope that you're not doing this to someone married, but they might leave their family, you might destroy a family. It's best to hope for the most beneficial results and do spell work and manifestation rituals that will bring you a result that is for your best interest and has the perfect outcome, and you don't try to control fate and mess with it using black magic and end up destroying people's lives. You could destroy that person's life because maybe you're not the person for them. Maybe you guys aren't actually fit for each other and you're trying to mess with fate and get that person to love you so much, and they're not even the right match for you, and you're not the right match for them. So I don't advise it at all.
So people keep bringing up witchcraft for the okra water, and it just reminded me of a time where I did actual witchcraft with my best friend. And mind you, we were young, we were like 13 years old, so we didn't know any better, but things did not work out as planned. Like crazy things started happening and whatnot. So we're like 13 years old on the swing. I'm telling her about the crush I have, she's telling me about her crush, and she's just like, I read somewhere that you can actually do a love spell. And I'm just like, a love spell? Do tell. So she's just like, all you have to do is write his name, write your name on a piece of paper, and fold the paper up. And it was at the time when Victoria's Secret was really popular, so they had like this perfume called Love Spell. She was like, spray some of that perfume on the piece of paper and put it underneath your pillow and just go to sleep. So she had the perfume, I didn't have the perfume, I ain't had no money to buy the perfume. So I was like, okay, well, you do it tonight and then bring me the perfume tomorrow and I'll do it tomorrow night. So we go home, whatever, and she does it, and then the next day we come back together, and literally that boy was all on her. The boy that she liked was like all on her. They were like this, and I was just like, what? It worked, y'all. So that night I got the perfume from her, and I do the same thing. And I like have my phone next to my pillow, so I fall asleep or whatever. I have the phone next to my pillow. I wake up in the middle of the night, and I get a text from the boy. I get a text from the boy I like, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that this just didn't just work like that, right? So at that point I was like, what? My man. I had that boy wrapped around my finger for like a whole week, y'all. But like weird stuff started happening. So first thing that happened is I caught my period for the first time. And if you know, caught my period for the first time. And then like I fell down a flight of stairs. I fell down the flight of stairs and I ripped my only winter jacket. Now this may seem like little juvenile things, but like I said, we were 13. So at the time, like that's big deal. Like that's a big deal, those things that were happening. So I was just like, you know what? I think that this is like karma or something for me doing that love spell on the boy. I say all this to say that you cannot do anything that will make a person go against their own will. Like to this day, I'm big on manifestation and all that stuff, but you cannot make a person fall in love with you, and you cannot make anybody do anything against their own will. Like that's something that we learned in like Disney movies back in the day. So yeah, y'all, just be careful with like any of that stuff. Like I don't suggest to do it. Like just stay away from it.
Demons governed sin. They tempt people to cast aside the precepts of God and make sins seems enjoyable. If people whom God has delivered from demons and curses return to the lifestyle of sins, living for pleasure of the flesh and ignoring the precepts of God, all the demons will return, because they know they live there. They will return angry, resentful, and with greater malice. Those demons don't go away like that. You have to pray. Don't forget to share this video with someone you love. This is a God message. Like and subscribe to this community. Check the previous video that I was talking about. I think you will like it. Over here.